Hey, I'm Ryan Somerville. This is my podcast, and this is a podcast where I talk to my fellow rock climbers and talk about their journey, what they get from climbing, all those things. This is the very first one, so it might be a little bit of a bumpy ride. And with my dear friend Harley, had the pleasure of knowing him for the last 5 years. He's pretty much a month into his climbing journey. We had met each other in Tramway, where I got to see him climb outdoors for the very first time, and just had the awesome honor of just seeing him develop through the years from the very beginning to where he is now, where he's just such a strong, confident climber, and all the goals that he's had, that he's set his eyes on, he has been able to do very well, and it's just been a great. It's been inspiring to just be able to be so close to him over the years, and it's definitely helped my climbing journey as well. So, but with that, he was the perfect guest to really start this off with, because I've known him for so many years, basically from the beginning. So with that, Harley.
Dang, that was quite the hype up.
Of course, yeah.
Jeez.
No, it's been such a great journey. I mean, for a while I was obviously a stronger climber than you, but you've just, not that it's competition, but I knew at some point your trajectory would just like excel mine or eclipse mine. So, and then to try to like keep up with that as I've gotten older, it's been you and the rest of the people that I climb with, it's just like very motivating to see what you're doing to be successful. I'm like, oh man, I need to like integrate that into my regimen, or just like your enthusiasm or like your dedication. But yeah, let's just start off with the most basic of questions. How did you get into climbing, and how long have you been climbing?
So I got into climbing originally. So my background is I work in animation, and I remember trying to figure out how to like exercise in general. Yeah. And I wasn't the most fit person.
To contrast like how much you were sitting down on a desk.
Yeah, I was just trying to move and just be healthy. And I had just moved to like LA. Yeah. So I was trying to.
Oh yeah, where are you from originally?
Originally, well, I'm from Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah. And I moved out into LA to get a job in the animation industry.
Where'd you go to college?
Savannah College of Art and Design.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think I knew you told me that, but now I'm just, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, but I moved out here because if you don't know, that's where most of the jobs are for animation. Yeah. And then once I hustled and I landed my first job, I was looking for outlets to like exercise, and one day a coworker invited me. I think it's a very similar story for a lot of people. Yeah. And then,
they're like, come try this new thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just kind of got hooked after that.
Yeah. Do you know, where was the first gym you went to?
My first gym was in Burbank.
Yeah. The Vertigo?
Or actually, yeah, it was actually Hollywood Boulders. I don't think Vertigo was open then.
Yeah.
It was part of the whole Touchstone franchise out here in California.
Yeah, SoCal.
Yeah.
And then I guess getting your first sort of impressions of climbing, what did you sort of make out from there? Like, did you get in there and just like, what the hell is this? Like, what's going on? Or were you like instantly hooked?
I think it's interesting. The gyms out here in California are like, just nowadays, they're so approachable. You have like the V0 to like V, 10 plus in gyms, and you can approach it like a video game. Versus like, I remember the first bouldering gym I ever saw, I was like 9 years old, or like maybe like in middle school.
Oh, so you'd kind of dabbled with rock climbing like way before.
Well, I didn't touch the wall, but like, I just remember seeing a bouldering wall in Colorado. Yeah. And thinking like, what is that? And it didn't look appealing. It didn't look fun. It just looked like they're like trying to climb up these like grimy plastic holds, and there's nothing appealing about it. Versus now, I feel like
it's such an aesthetically pleasing environment.
Yeah, it's very approachable, and you're around people like your age, and it looks fun, and you want to hang out. And
To kind of go back a little bit, how old were you when you started bouldering?
So I started bouldering / climbing when I was 22.
22, and you are now?
I am now 28.
Yeah, I remember we were sitting down the other day. You kind of got...
No, actually, I was 23.
23, okay.
Yeah. And now I'm 28.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he just got confused the other day with like not realizing how old he was.
Yeah, the older you get, the more you just forget your age.
Yeah. So 23 when you went to Hollywood Boulders, and would you say when you first got in there and your first session, were you instantly hooked?
I think, yeah, I remember my first session, I ended up with like 3 flappers because I was so stubborn. I saw like a V3.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to get up that thing.
It's just, you just got it. Yeah. Got it.
I kept trying until I just, my hands were bleeding so much that I could not climb anymore.
Were the friend that had taken you, did they like kind of try to reel you back a little bit? It's like, oh, maybe you should try this V0, V1, or were you just so in it that they...
No, I wanted to do it. I saw V3 and I was like, I want that.
You want to prove that, like, I want to start off on this grade. You saw the number and then you're like, I want to start off with, or just start off with not a V0, obviously.
Yeah, well, no, I started on V0 and then V1 and then V2 and then I wanted to get a 3.
Yeah,
basically.
Just like, how high can you go for your first session?
Yeah.
How sore were you after that first session?
I was super sore.
Yeah.
And I remember just like not being able to open doorknobs and stuff,
or like type on the keyboard.
Yeah, typing on the keyboard, just like just existing was painful.
Yeah. And then how much sooner after that did you go to the gym again?
So basically after that I just kept going. Like nonstop. Yeah, I just remember thinking, because also at the time, like I was in my early 20s, so the second I paid for that membership, I was gonna milk every penny that I'm paying for, because it's expensive to like have a gym membership.
Then it was like 70 or the high 70s, but maybe
78 or something.
78, yeah.
So I was trying to, not only was I trying to milk every penny out of my membership, I was also having a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then did you instantly like have people to go with, like with the friend that took you? Like, were you going with them or were you going by yourself?
It was a combination. Yeah, I would go alone and then I'd go with my friends a lot. It was a very social thing.
Yeah.
But I would also meet people at the same time. So
you would say the climbing bug got you pretty early on, very early on, basically your first day of climbing.
Yeah, I loved the challenge that was behind it, and like trying to push grades. I was definitely like a grade chaser.
Yeah.
And I loved seeing the progress. And I think the commercial gyms made it so like nice. I think the grades were pretty soft back then.
It's very approachable.
So it was very easy to see like that linear progression. And I just found that super exciting at the time.
So your first impressions of climbing, and then how that kind of formed. So you would say that it was about chasing grades. Was there any more you could add to like those beginning impressions? Because eventually I just want to ask like what you have thought about climbing from that beginning, and then now your perspective of climbing. How has that changed over the years of your journey of climbing? Yeah,
so initially I wanted to like push it as hard as I could and as fast as I could to like progress through the grades, and also I was having a hard time adjusting to like being an adult, like when because I had just graduated, and I was having a hard time meeting people like my age too, because everyone at work was pretty like a lot older.
Oh, you're pretty young compared to everybody else. Like you're the baby.
I think I was like 22 at the time.
Yeah.
And then everyone was like in their late 20s or their 30s, and I felt like kind of out of place. I was really young. So then when I started climbing, I found that it was supplying a lot of the social aspects that I needed in my life.
Meeting people your age, the similar ambitions, and like just going to the gym and having everybody's there for the same reason sort of thing. Like that's a common ground you could talk about, I guess. Like,
I also I was going through a lot at that moment in my life too. Like right before I started climbing, I recently had like a falling out with like a group of friends.
In the animation field or like
yeah, just like I don't want to go into specifics, but like just I had just a falling out with a group of friends that I was really close to, and I ended up pouring that energy into climbing.
Yeah, you found yourself with a lot more. Yeah,
like, it was very unhealthy.
Yeah, I mean,
I was like scraping self-worth through like trying to progress. Like,
oh, interesting.
In climbing.
Okay, yeah, I did not know that. That's kind of surprised me. So you found yourself with a lot more time to spend, and you pretty much pushed that to climbing. And I can imagine you were going through emotionally a lot, so you probably used a lot of that energy that towards you use climbing as an outlet.
Yeah, I guess like regaining confidence in myself.
And I'm sure meeting new people and like sort of in a new environment, that was probably really reassuring of like, hey, yeah, it's cool to meet new people, and then you're getting along with them, and you're having this new hobby that you could all like sort of relate to.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, everyone called me a baby.
A baby?
I was like,
I mean, I think I remember, yeah, I mean, honestly, like I remember calling you baby for like, you're like, yeah, I mean, I guess in a way it's hard. I don't think I've used that or thought that for a while, but because we have even more babies in our group of friends.
That's true.
That we climb with. One of them is just literally turned 21, so it's like a 10-year gap for me at least. Or even more than a 10-year gap.
Yeah, I'm probably like the age that you guys were when I first started.
Yeah, like
I'm the old timer.
They are the baby to you now, and yeah. So yeah, moving along from that was. Yeah, I guess we could transition to you maybe your first time outdoors, or when did you start going outdoors, or actually like engaging with outdoors?
So outdoor climbing I've always heard about it when I first started climbing in my first year, and it just sounded terrible to me.
It sounded a little pretentious.
Not even pretentious, just like it just sounded like way less convenient than indoors.
Oh yes.
Dirtier, more money, more gas. And like you need pads and stuff. It's more dangerous.
And I'm sure with the position that you were in, with like you're trying to extrapolate every single dime you could get from your membership, like that was in your frame of mind at the time.
Yeah, I was
being new to the city, making your way into the animation field.
Yeah, I was a miser. I didn't want to spend more money.
Yeah, on like $300 crash pads.
Yeah, for sure. I was like trying to save up in case I like lost my job in animation and I had to like be jobless. I didn't know if I was gonna get another job.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like when I had met you, like you seem like you probably came from like the San Gabriel area. Like I did not know that you were from Nebraska, and I was like pretty surprised because I guess it didn't seem like there was a culture shock for you. But was there a culture shock? I know I'm tangenting a little bit.
Not really, but I did feel more, honestly, I felt more comfortable being around people of the same color. And I think that's one thing that really helped me like gravitate towards climbing as well, is I never really got to grow up with people with the same color as me. I'm Asian, by the way.
I did not know.
My dad is Taiwanese and my mom is from Indonesia. She's Chindo, which is Chinese Indonesian. But yeah, it really made me excited to like be around people of the same color for a change. Yeah,
I mean, there's a big, in at least the area that we're in, there's a big population of Asian climbers. I would say it sometimes feels like it eclipses like all the other demographics, especially at what gym you are at. I think at Lab, I feel like LA Boulders, there's mainly that demographic.
Yeah, like certain gyms have a specific. I think it just has to do with the area in Los Angeles, because there's bubbles. But to bring it back to transitioning from indoor to outdoor climbing, eventually I climbed outside for I think my first year. 2 months into climbing, like 1.5 months in.
Was that Tramway?
And which is where I met you for the first time. Yeah, in Tramway. And it was okay.
and from how I could recall it wasn't probably the best introduction to outdoor climbing. Yeah,
I mean, I had a lot of fun, but it was super exciting. And I just remember thinking, like, wow, this is like extreme. This is like super adventurous, and this is, I think, something that really like resonated with me with outdoor climbing was that not just anyone can experience this. You need to like be climbing for a while, get proficient enough, and learn what you need to be able to climb.
Hold on. I think my camera died.
Oh shit.
Hold that thought. I knew I should have fucking charged it. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of technical difficulties with the camera. Anyways, so going on to this is climbing outdoors is not for everyone. Or you were saying, what was it?
What was it?
This is like a very special place to like.
To circle back.
Yeah.
Climbing outside always resonated with me in a way where it was like, this is a very special opportunity and special experience that only a small percentage of the world gets to experience.
Yeah.
Just like walking up to a boulder, knowing what climate is like.
Oh, okay.
If you take someone who doesn't climb and they look at, like, let's say Evolution, which is a very famous Bishop climb, and it's a super tall, proud boulder. If I didn't climb, I would just look at it like it's a rock.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. And so that was your first outing of climbing outdoors. That's something that clicked with you.
Yeah, just like I felt like we were part of something special. Yeah, I think that was a really cool experience.
That was a realization you had at after your very first time climbing outdoors.
Yeah, but everything else sucked.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if you were like familiar with like Mountain Project at the time, or like just guidebooks. But it's like, it's just interesting that like a specific climb will just be like, all right, this is what's on this rock, and like, I don't know, that's a weird tangent, but it's just adding on to evolution and all that. Like, not everybody knows what the history of these rocks could really like, contain, I suppose. Someone could just walk past and be like, whatever. Yeah,
it connected you to a community that makes you feel kind of like special.
Yeah,
I think that's what I was kind of looking for at the time.
Mm-hmm. And then so with like that sort of first outing of outdoor climbing, did you like continue to climb outdoors, or did you kind of like maintain a indoor climber?
Oh, okay. So to lay out my history.
Mm-hmm.
After that experience, I was still like not hooked on outdoor climbing. I honestly didn't really understand it. And I felt like, I liked it, but I just liked it so much less than indoor climbing.
Mm-hmm. Just because the accessibility, like the amount of time it took, like you said earlier.
Yeah, it was a huge time suck, and it's an entire weekend. Like, you pack, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You go, that's a lot.
You wake up early,
and then you go back and you have to unpack. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And you don't shower. The camping was insane. Like sleeping in like hammocks, sleeping like in a tent, or just sleeping on the floor. It's like,
it's very grueling.
You're like suffering.
Yeah.
Just so you can like climb, your project, or climb these random climbs. And at the time, I didn't know what the heck I was climbing. People were pointing at boulders, and I was just hopping on.
You didn't like. Was this pertaining to a specific area, or
no? Just
like
everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere. People, I'm like, "What's this? What are we hopping on?" And they would just kind of point and be like, "This is this grade.
This it's ultra classic, and
ultra classic." Yeah. And
how do you not know about this climb?
No.
Yeah, I'm just playing.
Yeah. But my friends were like, you should try this one, and I was just kind of following what everyone else was doing, and I think this was like second year of climbing, and then third year of climbing, I just still was not hooked.
Yeah.
And I think COVID happened.
Oh, interesting.
And I took a year off climbing in 2020.
Yeah.
And
you just didn't basically. Yeah, I guess that's a big question that I have, is like, were you able to even train or actually like touch rock during COVID?
Oh no, I just took a whole year off.
Okay.
During COVID.
Was that something was it circumstantial because you didn't have the means to do it, or did you purposely want to take that time off?
No, I was so busy with work that I just couldn't. And also there's a lot of social aspects of like I lived with people who were terrified of COVID, so
yeah, so you want to be respectful of that.
Yeah, I didn't leave. I was just like working all the time.
Yeah, so you just kind of, people were freaking out at the time, so you had to reevaluate what was important, and then basically like climbing outdoors. Actually, give me a second. All right, back on track. So yeah, going just so COVID happened, and then you just basically did you train at all, or?
I mean, I tried to keep up with it at the beginning, and I was stayed relatively fit for the first 3 months, and eventually it was just like not fun, so I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to exercise at all.
Yeah. And then so that was basically, I guess March. I guess it was like around St. Patrick's Day when everything shut down. So you did that. Yeah. And when do you think you got back on the wagon of climbing?
So I think right before, I think towards the end of COVID. I know we're still like wearing masks and stuff.
But was this like the end of like 2020 or like the beginning of 2021?
I don't know.
You don't know. It's just all blur. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess my point is like after COVID and taking that break, I started maybe after a year once COVID all started, I started to climb outside more. Yeah. And then trying to get back in shape as much as possible on real rock, and ice was still not hooked. And then
a quick question. Were you sorry, what
just jumping around.
No, this is important. Like were you climbing outside because climbing gyms weren't open yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So I
was gonna say that after that period of time, the gyms opened back up.
Okay. So you weren't completely. Okay, so you were going to clarify. Okay, sorry about that. It's fine. You got that. We had similar trajectories where we wanted to take it. So gyms opened back up, but you weren't fully invested in climbing outdoors yet.
Yeah, and then after the gyms opened back up, I started climbing a lot more and getting more back in shape, and then I decided to make an active decision to try to find a way to enjoy outdoor climbing.
Okay. I guess what prompted that sort of like, what motivated that, I suppose, to wanting to climb outdoors? Was climbing indoors not as enjoyable, or were you trying to take on bigger sort of projects and then outdoors was offering that?
It was just kind of a decision to try to, because again, I didn't enjoy outdoor climbing that much, and it was just an active decision to try to see if I could enjoy it. Okay. Nothing really prompted it other than trying to learn something new.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm always curious if it's just like a friend that is like trying to get people to climb outdoors more, or get you to climb outdoors more because they see the potential that you could do all these things. But I guess this could transition to your projects climbing outdoors, where to me, you've accomplished some big climbs that let's just say like the amount of climbs that you've been able to like tick them off pretty fast, and so the amount of climbs that you've done have been all pretty high grades, and I guess you wouldn't have a lot of like low grade climbs. You just go straight to basically jump off the couch to like V9, V10, and now like 11, and now, in my perspective, now reaching to V12s very easily. And that's not the normal journey a lot of people have with climbing outdoors. Usually, you start like on the lower end, but you just seem like to just, sure, you dabbled with maybe like lower grade climbs, but the time you have concentrated on these higher grade climbs does outweigh more than the lower grade climbs, I suppose. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, that totally makes sense, because at the time I barely climbed outside. So after COVID and after like climbing indoors, I climbed for about 2 full years of just pure training. And I think I went outdoors maybe 4 times total in that span of 2-year training. I mean, I probably went outdoors like here and there for like random one-off sessions.
Yeah.
But in my recollection, it's like 4 sessions outside, and the rest was just complete pure training for bouldering outside.
But specific moves for specific climbs, you would say?
Specific like muscle groups, and like if there's a climb that involved like a bicep, I started training my biceps, and started training rows, started training core, started training tension, in elongated positions.
What prompted, do you think, did you know there was like certain climbs that needed to ask for those things, or you just knew that, okay, these are lacking, I need to improve on these? Just generally, like, you looked at some sort of training regimen, I suppose, like, or did you look at pros or something like that and see what they did? Like, I guess, what made you think to train for those things?
Because I would just pick a climb that I would want to do, and then if I noticed that it had any sort of position that I knew was going to be difficult for me.
Yeah.
Let's say I could like barely hold this crimp. Let's say I can barely hold this like undercling because I'm not strong enough.
Yeah.
Or if I can hold it, but I just want to like train it even more so it feels like nothing, so I have more strength for later on.
Yeah.
I would just train it.
Okay. So you just felt any amount of weakness and you're like, all right, this can't feel like this. I need to like, really dig deep, and which is awesome. That's like, you're literally training for your weaknesses, which is, and not just continue climbing. You're like, all right, I got to do something, which is, I mean, personally, something I lack on. I'm just like, I'm just going to climb, but thinking about, oh, I can't do this, hold this position, so I need to like really like, work on this part. It's very intentional, I suppose. It's like, this is something you need to improve upon, so you're not going to make it a problem for next time.
Yeah.
Which is,
I think sometimes climbing can be like learning a trick on a skateboard or something like that, where if you kind of like isolate these different tricks, and you kind of combine them together, and it's I think it's very simple to improve, especially for a specific climb. So I always have like a list of like a few climbs that I want to hop on eventually and train those things.
Okay. Do you know that, like, because you get to jump on the climb, or do you look at a video of the climb, someone climbing it, and be like, all right, this position needs this position needs that, and then so you'll, even before you get on, you're already like ahead of the game of like, okay, I need to make sure this part of my body's in shape for this climb?
Oh, personally, I like to hop on the climb first, just to feel that defeat. And then have that light a fire to like
motivation. I mean, I think I'm starting to get into that sort of realm where even just on a system board to replicate the move, but I think I'm not being smart about just like, okay, I need to like exercise this specific muscle because I know it's lacking. Like, it probably would make things a lot easier, but I'm just like, I just want to climb. So quickly we could dabble on 2 of your big projects that I think that were pretty big ones. Was fighting with alligators, which is your most recent big ascent. That's your biggest send. Wow, I cannot talk. It's been a long day. So that is a climb that's in Stony Point, which is a long traversy. I think, I haven't personally been on it, but it's very like slopey. Is it crimpy? Is it like, how many moves are there? Do you know?
It's like a million and a half moves.
A million.
It's so many moves. It was my 2020 project, and I remember I wasn't fit at all, but I just remember that climb consuming like me during COVID. It's like, if I can't hang out with friends, I'm gonna get this climb, but I was just not strong enough to get it. So eventually, like, once the gyms opened back up and I got back in shape, I don't think I thought about that climb once. Like, every once in a while, like, I would.
Oh, so you went back to gym, didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I kind of immediately moved on to like different projects and never even thought about like ticking that climb or even caring to tick that climb. And then just recently, I went down there with a few friends, and honestly, I didn't think it would go in that session, but
you knew all the moves and whatnot.
I spent maybe like an hour and a half relaying the moves.
You kind of had a vague idea of like how to, because you kind of probably went through the moves a little bit back, but you kind of had to remind yourself.
Yeah, I came back a lot smarter as well. Like, I remember thinking like, oh, I need to optimize. Like, I've done this move and it felt easy, but like, this is not easy enough to be optimized for this like 1.5 million climb. And then even at the beginning too, the beginning is pretty powerful and compression-y.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, how can I climb this like as fast as possible? Because there's no body position other than just squeezing. So I was figuring out how to like align the body actually to like relieve some of the tension, and just like climbing it fast was like a lot. And I came back a lot smarter versus like my mindset before was just like if I'm strong enough, I'm a pull like, and I'll just climb faster to make up for like the inefficiency.
Yeah. When I watched the video of you climbing it, I was like, he's not done. Oh, he's done. Oh, he's not done. Like, it just kept on going. I was like,
it's a super long climb.
And also, I know something had broke not too long ago. So from when you had touched it in 2020 to now, which is 2023, the beginning of January, had that changed your beta for it at all? Or
no, I think it felt about the same.
About the same.
I think one of the good holds fell off. I don't think
it really made a
I don't really
issue
think it
for
made
you.
any difference. Yeah,
Okay.
At least for me.
So that was fighting with alligators. It was a V11. Right?
Yeah, V11.
And now one that was a little bit before that was Beautiful Gecko. Which that was for me, I was personally invested because I was there was that your first session when I was there?
I think that was my first, yeah.
Okay. I remember you, trying to suss out that second move after basically you established the hands after the knee bar.
Yeah.
And I watched you for like, I don't know, a couple hours, and it was fun to watch. It was just like, that shit looks intense. I was personally saving myself for another climb that day. But
stained glass.
No, center direct.
Center direct.
Yeah. Anyways, so I kind of saw that, but I knew you were gonna go. You were just kind of feeling out the moves, and I knew you were gonna come back for it. And I was very like, you seemed very confident about it, so I was very interested in like, okay, yeah, I just need get this one move, and I could get the rest out.
Yeah, basically, my mindset was I am still recovering from a similar injury. But I think
similar injury as in
I have like at that time I had like 3 finger injuries. And I basically gave up on my main project, and I was like, my goal was to just send a 12 before my 5-year mark of climbing. So
which was the beginning of this year.
Which was the beginning of this year, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes it very easy to keep track of my climbing because I started.
You started in January.
Right in January. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so basically the only reason why I hopped on that climb specifically was because, well, if I'm too injured to do my main project, I am going to try to get that climb specifically.
Okay. Yeah. And you estimated correctly. You kind of knew your body and like what you were. Was it like the holds, you knew that they weren't going to be too taxing on your fingers and the way like would have injured them more, or were you just like, all right, this climb's a little bit easier, I'm interested in it? And I know you factor in like the safety of climbing sometimes, like the climb is, if it could be dangerous if I need to get in the specific position, like was that a factor of trying Beefy Gecko, or is it like easy to get to? Or
I think a huge part of it is like if I was to think about the whole list of every single V12 in Bishop, or just in general, I don't really know anything, but Beautiful Gecko is a line that follows into Beefcake, which is a V10, a very popular V10, a lot of people's first. And I know exactly what those moves are. So I know basically 3/4 of the climb, or like half the climb.
Yeah.
And all I need to do is figure out the first bit. So
okay.
if I can learn those first few moves, then I can know if it's like if it's possible or not.
Okay, I see. When did you do Beefcake?
Oh, that was my year and a half in or something like that.
Damn. Okay. Damn. I didn't even realize when you had done that climb. Like, yeah, I knew he had done that climb, but forgot to mention, yeah. I guess I was trying to iterate earlier. It was just like the amount of sessions you have done outdoors, you have been able to accomplish a lot of high grade climbing. For the amount of time you've been climbing outdoors, I think that's very rare, because you kind of have to get acclimated to climb outdoors. At least I feel like that was my personal journey, because it takes a while to just figure out how to hold outdoor holds, and it seems like it was a very nonchalant process for you.
I just want to circle back. It was definitely like 3.5 years, not 1.5.
Oh, into
1.5 was Love Machine.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean,
J-Tree.
regardless, you did. I mean, 3.5 years into your climbing, you did a V10. That's fucking crazy. I mean, in my opinion. So, but Love Machine, where was that one at?
J-Tree.
J-Tree. Oh.
That was my first 10.
I mean, maybe I should get on that.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's a fun one mover.
Yeah, so we been digging deep. I don't know how much longer we go for, but we've covered a lot of topics. I guess, yeah. I'm just looking at my list over here. Yeah, I guess, what's your end goals for climbing? What do you see as is it just to continue to be psyched on climbing and try to go as far as you can in terms of grades, or is it, what are your ideas?
I think initially when I was climbing, grades meant everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not like everything. Like, I loved climbing and I loved pushing myself, and I think that's what I cared more about versus like just a number.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays, like, I focus still on the grades, but like filling out numbers, and I'm a lot more like analytical, thinking about like this different styles, acknowledging that.
Mm-hmm. Your weaknesses and like.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But I think right now my goal is to be able to feel more comfortable on 12s. Okay. I mean, I think that goal is quite far away, but I think before my injury, I felt very confident.
Yeah.
With 12s.
Was that not this season? The season before? I guess March, February of 2022.
It was around June.
June. Okay. When yeah, you went really late into the season, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in July I got injured, and it just cascaded into.
Yeah. How'd you get in the injury? How do you say?
It was a stress of smacking my hand on the wall.
Oh, okay.
And then I smacked it like 2 more times against the wall. Yeah. It was just like a freak coincidence.
I feel like I was there when it happened. Was it, or
you might have been there for one of the smacks?
One of the smacks. Okay. Yeah. I think could have been Condi that could have happened, but I remember sort of vividly or vaguely of something like that. And yeah, what would you say the injury is? Like, what's the name for it?
I thought it was a collateral ligament injury, but I think it's really just like a stress in the bone, which happens from like similar to like falling or like fracturing a bone. Mm-hmm. And I think the injury is more based off of that, and it's caused a lot of sensitivity in the area. Okay. And I can not half crimp. I mean, yeah, I cannot open hand crimp on my right hand very well. Okay. And I can't crimp in general, and if I pull on it if I load it wrong directionally, then it's extremely sensitive. It feels like
it was kind of like sideways, or like kind of like
a pulley.
skewed.
Yeah, like it's like a pulley injury that's like perpendicular.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, what is there any like therapeutic things you're doing for, or like trying to like exercise it to heal it or anything?
Yeah, I do a lot of exercises for it. I think sport climbing has helped a lot, and just
sport climbing,
or just like climbing, doing endurance training. Yeah. Doing endurance training, repeaters has helped a lot, and taking it easy. Yeah. And if I like push it too hard, making sure not to like climb.
Get too psyched on climbing and wanting to pull really hard, which is every climber's issue for the most part. Yeah. So yeah, you think after that sort of heals back to what you like, back to what you used to be at, you feel like you'll be in good shape to attack, being consistent with V12s?
Yeah, I'm hoping. So my goals in general right now is to, once I heal up, is to hopefully do a couple more 12s or a few more 12s, and then possibly get a 13, and then possibly get a 14, and I think just see what's possible. I think the whole point is training for 2 years and then like climbing now outside frequently is just to see what's possible more so than the grades.
Yeah.
But the grades are definitely a good starting point.
Right.
I think a lot of people will kind of like judge like just going for certain climbs and stuff like that, but I think you got to start somewhere. So I'm starting at a certain point, like Beautiful and Alligators, and just doing the climbs that I see now, so I can start venturing off to other climbs that are
I think
harder.
I think some of hopefully this is in alignment with what you're saying, but how some people could judge just attacking certain climbs, but honestly, like if you're able to, it comes down to your motivation and what drives you to get stronger, what train and whatnot. And there's no one to judge like what motivates you to climb harder. And it's weird to, sometimes get into conversation of grade chasing, because some people could look at it like that objectively. But honestly, like if you find it more valuable and more of a learning lesson for yourself to work on this one climb and, really finesse these couple moves, because it sounds like to me, you are able to recognize your weaknesses in terms of muscle groups, and you train for those things to compensate for like it not to be as difficult of a move for the next time. And that's you're improving yourself. You're trying to be critical in like, the ways you could approach the climb and overcome those weaknesses. So I honestly, after this conversation, I'm just like, oh yeah, I should maybe start to do that a little bit more. Because I just do general training. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to hangboard. I'm just going to do flies. I'm just going to do like dips and just the most generic of exercises. But I have not like, all right, I need to do these biceps. So I know like when I do this undercling, it's going to be really easy. So I don't take it to that level sometimes, but it sounds like that's how that's your process, which I love hearing. And I guess any last thoughts if you want to expand more on that?
Let's see, last thoughts. No, I mean that's it. That's my journey. I think everyone gets a lot out of climbing too. The way I have fun is very different from how like a lot of people that I know enjoy climbing. It's not all about the progress. It's not all about performance. I think both of us are very performance oriented. But I think a lot of people get a lot out of it through just the community alone, or like just getting small like movement. I guess getting small movements on like specific climbs and just understanding like compy style, or like figuring out a new move on a slab, and like I think that's totally fine, and I think that's a cool thing about climbing is that everyone kind of has their own thing.
They could kind of focus in on a specific area. Like it could also not even be, obviously there's other facets of climbing where it could be elite climbing, it could be trad climbing. It's like they could obviously, weigh heavily in that direction, and it is just like has a lot to offer.
Yeah, I still feel relatively new to climbing, like 5 years in, so I'm curious how my mindset will change over the next like three years even.
Yeah, I mean, you're about, it's not directly half of my climbing time, but I think I have found myself kind of in a corner sometimes, trying to go in one trajectory, so I just kind of venture out and okay, all right, like I do a lot of lead climbing, so that's like kind of opened up new doors. But it's interesting to see, like especially some of the people that we climb with, how of a very tunnel visioned mindset you've had to try to accomplish your goals. And I'm always curious, like how long these projects are going for you guys. Like are you guys getting tired of it, or are you like, is this motivating? And I asked one of our friends, Condi, and he's just like, yeah, if I could just get, make improvement on one move, I feel like that's more valuable to me than just sending this super easy climb I could send in one go. Like, that's a weird tangent, but I don't know if that made any sense. But
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
I mean, even sometimes when I train really hard for a specific climb and I just get it in that session, in one session, it can be pretty unfulfilling.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find a project that's like right in the sweet spot.
Not too hard, but not. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, some people kind of attack climbing they're like, I want to flash this climb, and that's a great motivator, but I like how you're framing it's like, I want something to be difficult enough to motivate me. And would you say that's like probably your main mindset when it comes to just climbing in general?
Yeah, I think it's only fun for me because it's hard. I think the challenge is really just like that first day of climbing, trying to send that V3 and getting like 3 flappers, and my hands are just covered in blood and bandages.
Yeah.
Like I have a challenge and I can't overcome it, and I want to, and I start pushing towards like overcoming it.
I mean, that's a good way to kind of bring it back full circle back to that V3. Did you go back and finish that V3?
No.
Does it haunt you in your dreams at all?
No.
Okay. I highly doubt that, but
I got another V3.
Okay.
It was a lot easier.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, yeah, that is a nice way to bring it full circle. So yeah, this is my first interview with a fellow rock climber, and thank you, Harley, for hopefully this isn't too much of a torturous process. I know we kind of had a little bit of a difficulties hitting a couple bumps, but I think it went over well.
Thanks for having me on your first guinea pig for your podcast.
Yes, thank you for offering, because I know it's a lot to ask for, because it's a learning process for me. Well, thank you for anybody that's listened to this point. Hopefully, we'll definitely have Harley back for a lot of the progress he's making. I know there's some things he's waiting for to send that I know he'll send. So, and then we'll have conversations off that. So until the next time, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you then.
Bye.
Bye.